What's up, everyone? This is Waylander69420, and this, as you can tell by the title up above, is going to be my 2012 NFL Draft grades video. Now, I am not going to go through every single team and what I thought their grade was. All of that information will be down below in the description box. But I'm going to go over some notables, both good and bad, to see so you guys can get an idea of where I'm going with this and where I think certain teams, notable teams around the league, and how they did. Now, I'm going to start with my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. I'm giving the Dolphins a grade of C+. Now, if you would just ask me to do a grade video based on the first round, the Dolphins would have gotten an F. That's how much I despise the pick of Ryan Tannehill. But the Dolphins, in my opinion, made up for it with the selection in round 2 of Jonathan Martin, offensive tackle out of Stanford, and in round 4, getting what I think is an absolute steal in Lamar Miller, running back out of Miami. Now, I had Lamar Miller in my mock draft go number 22 overall to the Cleveland Browns. But that was also saying that the Browns had selected Justin Blackmon and not Trent Richardson. So once that happened, I had a feeling that Lamar Miller would fall somewhere in the second, maybe the third round. But to get him in round 4 is a steal. The Dolphins, I thought, did very well on days 2 and 3. But it doesn't all the way make up for setting the franchise back 10 years with the selection of Ryan Tannehill. So I'm giving the Dolphins a C+. Now, there aren't going to be very many A's, and there aren't going to be very many F's, I can tell you that. One team that is going to get an A is the Indianapolis Colts. I especially love what the Colts did in the first 2 days. With Andrew Luck, obviously, and then with Coby Fleener and Dwayne Allen on day 2. Not only do you pick a franchise quarterback in Andrew Luck, a guy who's going to run your franchise for 15 years and do a damn good job, but then you've got 2 complementary weapons, one that he already knows very, very well, and you're starting to see where the Colts want to go offensively. And the other picks in the draft, they made some complimentary picks later to try and help these guys out. But this draft for the Colts is solely based essentially on how Andrew Luck performs. And from all indications, Andrew Luck is going to be one hell of a pro quarterback. And so the Colts are going to get an A. Another team that's going to get an A is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers always traditionally draft well. They just do. They draft well, what can I say? But I'm giving the Steelers an A, again, mainly based on the first 2 rounds in selecting David DeCastro and Mike Adams, both of whom I believe will start week 1. Now, if Mike Adams can keep his head out of his butt and make sure he's got his head on straight and learn, then he's going to be a very good right tackle to start with and eventually be a left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And David DeCastro, I think, is the only all-pro guard in this draft. Very well maybe the only all-pro offensive lineman in this draft, although I wouldn't quite go that far. But you could make the argument, and I wouldn't argue with you. So, if you can get 2 guys in the first 2 rounds of the draft who are potential Pro Bowlers with their talent level, then you deserve an A. And another team I think is going to probably get a low grade from most experts. I'm not going to give them that low of a grade. I'm giving them a B. Is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, while I thought they reached for A.J. Jenkins, who is a very good wide receiver, but personally I didn't believe he was worth a first-round pick, I like what the 49ers did with the rest of their draft, starting with LeGarrette LaMichael James out of Oregon. I mean, LaMichael James, I believe, will develop into a good running back. I mean, you can start maybe to see Frank Gore wearing down a little bit, and I don't know if Kendall Hunter is the answer, so bringing in LaMichael James, helps solidify that, and he immediately helps on kickoff and punt returns. Another team I thought did very, very well, and they're getting an A- from me, is the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the Bengals, well, what can I say? They may, according to most experts, may have had the best draft of anybody. I mean, they hit home runs, I think, with Dre Kirkpatrick, with Kevin Zeigler, with Mohamed Sanu in the third round. And the Bengals have drafted very, very well, especially over the last couple of years. But I think this year just adds on to that, and the Bengals are here to stay. At least in my opinion. Now, one team that I am going to give an F to is the Oakland Raiders. And while the Oakland Raiders maybe, they didn't have a pick until the last pick of the third round, I just don't think they filled any holes whatsoever. And I just don't really know where the Oakland Raiders were going. I mean, if you can tell me where the Oakland Raiders were going, comment down below and let me know where they were going, because for the life of me, I can't figure it out. One more team that will get an F, and this will be the only other F, is the Seattle Seahawks. I thought the Seahawks reached way out there for Bruce Irvin, and to be quite honest, I didn't like anybody else really that they selected. I just don't think they had a very good draft. I mean, now I could turn out to be dead wrong on all of these, but this is my opinion for now. And now I'm going to give you my steals of the draft and my biggest potential busts. We'll put it that way. The biggest steals to me, I had 2 in round 1 and I had 2 in round 2. The 2 in round 1 I mentioned already in my round 1 winners and losers video was Riley Reif out of Iowa going number 23 to the Detroit Lions, and David DeCastro going number 24 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those were the 2 biggest steals of this draft to me in the first round. I had both of them going in the top 11. Both of them, I think, are going to be Pro Bowlers. David DeCastro is, in my opinion, the next Steve Hutchinson. And we all know how great Steve Hutchinson has been over the past, 10 or 15 years. Now, and I have 2 really big steals also in round number 2. And I also have an honorable mention that I will mention for round number 2. My first really big steal of round number 2 isn't maybe not necessarily a steal by definition, but I just think the right team got him, and this is going to work very well. And that's Courtney Upshaw, linebacker out of Alabama, going number 35 overall to the Baltimore Ravens. I didn't see any way Courtney Upshaw would fall out of the first round, and he did. And the Ravens pick him up, and now he's going to play with Terrell Suggs and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Haloti Ngata and everybody else they got on that defense. That's frightening. If Upshaw can come in and produce right away, the Ravens are frightening in 2012. Let's be honest. My other really, really big steal was actually towards the end of round 2, and that was Peter Kahns, center out of Wisconsin, going to the Atlanta Falcons. And personally, I thought Kahns would end up with the Ravens in round 1. He fell almost a full round. And he is, I think, the only really potentially great center in this draft. And him and DeCastro, I thought, were the 2 best interior offensive linemen. And they both fall very, very far, at least in my opinion. One more steal that I I almost damn near forgot about, but I'm going to bring it up. Round 2, Jonathan Martin, offensive tackle out of Stanford, going to my Miami Dolphins. I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier when I was talking about the Dolphins draft grade, but the Dolphins picking up Jonathan Martin almost made up for the fact that they drafted Ryan Tannehill. Jonathan Martin is going to be a phenomenal right tackle for this team. Just think about this for a second. You could have an all-pro at right tackle in Jonathan Martin, an all-pro center in Marquise Pouncey, and an all-pro left tackle with Jake Long. If you can get just two decent guys in the middle at those guard spots, the Dolphins are the best offensive line in football. And it won't be close, especially with the skill sets of Reggie Bush, Daniel Thomas, and now Lamar Miller. You're going to do a lot of running to the outside behind those big tackles, and well, the Dolphins are going to be one of the best running teams in the league if Jonathan Martin can live up to his potential and give Reggie Bush especially, but also Daniel Thomas and Lamar Miller another side to run the ball to. You don't always have to run behind Jake Long. You can also run behind Jonathan Martin and be almost as successful. Now, I have a couple of guys I think could really bust, and one of those really big busts I've already mentioned is Bruce Irvin, defensive end out of West Virginia, going to the Seattle Seahawks. He will not have been worth the 15th pick in this draft. I can promise you that. Now, will he have been worth the first rounder? Maybe. If he can compile 100 sacks in his career, you can say he was worth the first round pick. But I don't think there's any way he will have enough of an impact with the Seattle Seahawks to say he was the 15th best player in this draft. I just don't see it. He has bust written all over him to me. Another guy who has bust written all over him to me is Shane McCollum, linebacker out of Boise State, going 19th overall to the Chicago Bears. Now, I think the Bears reached for McCollum. If they really wanted him, they could have traded with somebody like the Ravens or the Steelers or, hell, even the Patriots to move down in the draft and get this guy more where his value was. Now, I like Shane McCollum. I think he will be a good linebacker, but not with the Bears. I just think this is the wrong spot for him, and he's going to look like a bust. I've got one more guy I think could bust, and I've already mentioned it. It's Ryan Tannehill, quarterback out of Texas A&M, going to the Miami Dolphins at number 8 overall. I think Ryan Tannehill is a huge bust threat here. Not Ryan Leaf, bad. Not Jamarcus Russell, bad. Not Achilles Smith, bad. But he won't have been worth the 8th overall pick. I've said from day one with this guy, I thought he was a 2nd or 3rd round talent. I've watched him play. I live in the state of Iowa. I watched his game against Iowa State last year, and he looked terrible against a mediocre Iowa State team. Iowa State plays some pretty complex defenses, and Tannehill couldn't figure them out. And what makes you think he's going to be able to do it at the next level when he has to face that every single week? Now, maybe he can, but I don't see it. Alright, that's it for my draft grades, steals and busts video. Again, every team's grade and their best draft pick will be down in the description box down below. Feel free to check that out. The next time you hear anything from me may very well be another wrestling video. I may very well do an Extreme Rules review video if I can get to watch it tomorrow night. But other than that, I will probably have a couple of baseball commentaries coming up here in the month of May. And the next football video I will do will most likely be in July or August when I go into my 2012 predictions. Right, for now, this is Waylanator69420 signing off. You stay classy, bitches.